The mysterious visitor was late at night. Jacob sat in his small apartment, drinking tea and reading an old book. Outside, the city was quiet. The streets were empty. Suddenly, there was a knock at his door. Jacob froze. He was not expecting anyone. The knock came again, this time softer, almost like a gentle tap. He walked slowly to the door. His heart beat fast. Who could it be at this late hour? When he opened the door, his eyes widened. A girl stood there, but she was not like any human girl he had ever seen. She was tall and slender, her skin pale but glowing softly with a silver light. Strange markings covered her arms. Her hair shimmered like liquid metal, and her eyes were bright blue, almost glowing in the dark. She looked at Jacob and whispered, "Scrub me, human. Spray me with water, and I will bond with you." Jacob didn't understand. Was this a joke? Some kind of performance? But the girl looked weak. She was breathing hard, and her legs trembled like she could fall at any moment. "Please," she whispered again. I need water. Your water. Let me in. Please." Jacob hesitated. Every part of his mind told him this was strange, even dangerous. But something in her voice sounded so desperate, so sad. "Come inside," he finally said. The girl stepped in slowly. As she walked, small bits of dust fell from her body onto the floor. It looked like gray sand, but sparkled under the light. Jacob quickly closed the door. "Who? Or you?" he asked. She looked around the room with wide eyes, as if seeing everything for the first time. The sofa, the lamp, the old TV. "I am Alara," she said quietly. "I come from far, very far. The air here, it burns me. The dust, it kills me slowly." Jacob looked at her closely. Her skin was covered with fine gray powder, and it seemed to hurt her. She touched her arms carefully, wincing in pain. "Why? Do you need water? And why me?" Jacob asked. Alara shook her head slowly. "I do not have much time to explain. I need your help now, or I will die." Her voice was soft but filled with urgency. She held out her hand. "Please, human. Just water. Then I will tell you everything." Jacob was still unsure. But what if she really was dying? He could not just watch her suffer. "All right," he said. "Come with me." He led her to the bathroom. The light was bright, and Alara blinked a few times before stepping in. Jacob turned on the shower. "You need this water?" he asked. "Yes," she said. Her voice trembled. "But not just any water. It must be poured by a human, with care." Jacob nodded slowly. This was getting stranger by the minute. But curiosity and pity pushed him forward. "Okay, stand here," he said gently. I leapt into the shower. She looked nervous, but also hopeful. Jacob picked up the shower head and let the warm water flow gently over her arm. At first, nothing happened. But then, her skin began to glow softly where the water touched it. The gray dust started to wash away, revealing smooth, shining skin underneath skin that almost looked like silver. Alara sighed deeply. Abia sighed deeply, and she leaned into the water. "Thank you. Thank you," she whispered. Jacob kept going, carefully spraying water over her shoulders, back, and arms. The glowing grew brighter with every drop of water, but as the dust disappeared, something else happened. A strange energy seemed to fill the small bathroom. Jacob could feel it, like static electricity in the air. When he sprayed her legs and feet, she suddenly turned and looked straight at him. Her glowing blue eyes locked onto his dot. She reached out and gently grabbed his wrist. "Now the bond begins," she whispered. Jacob froze. "Bond? What bond?" he asked. But Alara only smiled. Softly. "You will know soon. The bond cannot be stopped now." Jacob's heart raced. What had he just agreed to? Why did she say this bond was starting? Was it dangerous? What did it mean for him? Even though the water had cleaned the strange dust, there were so many new questions now. And deep down, Jacob knew. This was just the beginning. He turned off the water. Alira stepped out slowly. The glowing on her skin was softer now, almost peaceful. "Thank you, Jacob," she said. "Now, we are linked forever." Jacob stared at her, stunned. "How do you know my name?" he asked. Alira smiled gently. "Because the bond has already begun." And with that, she sat on the edge of the bathtub, looking calm but tired. Jacob knew his life had changed forever, but he had no idea what would come next. The alien secret. Jacob couldn't sleep that night. The glowing alien girl Alira was sitting quietly on his couch, wrapped in a towel. Her silver skin now looked smooth and clean, but she was still a mystery. He kept glancing at her, unsure. What to say? The word bond echoed in his mind. What did she mean? Why did she come to him? Finally, he sat across from her. "Alira, you need to explain everything," he said firmly. Alira raised her glowing blue eyes and nodded slowly. "Yes, you deserve to know." She took a deep breath and spoke softly. "I come from a world called Nirvana. My people. We are not like humans. We survive by making bonds. Bonds with those who help us purify our skin and spirit." Jacob listened carefully. "But why me? Why Earth?" Alira looked down at her hands, which still sparkled faintly. "Our planet is dying, Jacob. The atmosphere is poisoned. Many of my kind have already perished. I was sent here to find a human. Only a human's water can wash away the dust that kills us." Jacob frowned. "Why only human water? That doesn't make sense." Alira shook her head. "It is not the water itself. It is the care, the touch, the kindness of a human hand. That is what heals us. It is rare in the galaxy." Jacob sat back, shocked. He never imagined humans could have something so special, something so unique that another species would come across. "The stars, too, seek it," Alira continued, her voice trembling now. "But there is more. Once you washed me, the bond began. It is ancient, deep. Our lives are now connected." Jacob's heart skipped a beat. Connected how? What happens now? Alira looked at him with sad eyes. "Your emotions, your thoughts, your health. They will affect me, and mine will affect you. We are two, but also one." This was almost too much for Jacob to believe. "Are you saying I can feel what you feel?" "Yes," she said quietly. "Soon, you will sense my thoughts and feelings, and I will sense yours. We are bonded for life." Jacob stood up and walked to the window. He stared out at the dark, quiet street, trying to understand everything. But then he felt something strange, like a soft whisper in his mind. "I am sorry." The voice was not his. It was Alira's voice. Inside his head, he turned around. Quickly, "Did you just speak to me? In my mind?" Alira nodded gently. "Yes, the bond is already growing stronger. Soon it will feel natural." Jacob felt a chill down his spine. This was real. The bond was real. But why did you choose me? "There are millions of people on Earth," he asked. Alira's eyes glowed, brighter for a moment. "Because your heart is kind, Jacob. I sensed it before I arrived, and because there is danger coming." "Danger?" Jacob asked, alarmed. Alira stood up slowly. "Shh. Others followed me. Hunters from my world. Shh. They do not want this bond to happen. They fear it, and they will try to stop it." Jacob's mind raced. He had no idea what he was getting into. This was more than helping an alien girl. It was something much bigger. and far more dangerous. Suddenly, there was a noise outside, a soft clicking sound, like claws on stone. Alera's eyes widened. They are here. Jacob's heart pounded. He moved to the door and peered through the peephole. But he couldn't see anything, just shadows. Alera grabbed his hand tightly. "You must trust me now. The bond gives us a chance. But we must act quickly." Jacob nodded slowly. He didn't understand everything yet. But one thing was clear. His quiet life was over, and it all began with a knock at midnight and a simple, strange request. "Scrub me, human, .. Jacob's hands were shaking. Outside his door, strange sounds echoed in the hallway. Soft clicks and scratches, too fast and sharp to be human. But inside, Alera stood calm, almost glowing in the dim light. Her silver skin shimmered where the water had washed her clean. Her blue eyes locked onto Jacob's face. "Jacob," she whispered, "the ritual is not finished." He looked at her, confused and nervous. "What ritual?" "I already sprayed you with water." Alera stepped closer. "No, that was only the beginning. The bond is weak now. We must complete the shower ritual, or the hunters outside will sense I am not fully joined to you, and they will break in." Jacob swallowed hard. His heart raced. "What exactly do we have to do?" Alera touched his arm gently. "We must enter the water together. Only then will the bond be sealed." Jacob hesitated. This was unreal. His whole life had changed in just a few hours. But Alera looked frightened. "More than before, the water will hide us, protect us, and make our connection strong," she said quietly. Outside, the scratching sound grew louder. Jacob knew he had no choice. "All right," he said, breathing hard. "Let's finish it." Alera nodded and stepped into the shower. The silver light from her skin lit up the small bathroom. Jacob followed, still unsure what was happening. The warm water poured down over them both, and at first it felt normal. But then something strange began. The water hitting Alera's skin glowed brighter than before, and when it splashed onto Jacob, he felt a warm pulse, as if the water carried energy itself. He gasped. The water felt alive. Alera raised her face to the stream and closed her eyes. "Feel it," she whispered. "Let it flow. Let it bond us." Jacob suddenly felt something deeper, a warmth growing in his chest, a pulse that matched Alera's. Breathing, and then heard her voice again, not through his ears, but inside his mind. "Do not be afraid, Jacob. We are almost one." Jacob looked down. The glowing water ran over both of them, and where it touched his skin, it left behind a faint silver glow, just like hers. The ritual was working, but what exactly was happening to him? Alera opened her eyes slowly and smiled. "You are changing," she said. "The bond is sealing. Soon you will understand everything I feel, everything I think." Jacob felt dizzy. He held onto the wall for support, but there was no time to think outside. The scratching stopped suddenly. Replaced by silence, Alera stiffened. They know the ritual has started. They will not wait any longer. Just then, boom. A loud crash at the front door. Someone or something was trying to break in. Jacob's heart pounded harder. Alera reached for his hand and squeezed it tight. "You must trust the bond now," she said. "We are linked. You can feel my fear, but also my strength." And she was right. Jacob realized that, somehow, her courage was flowing into him. Even though he was terrified, a strange calm settled over him, as if her bravery was becoming his own. The door rattled again. Another loud crash. The water glowed brighter around them, almost blinding now. Then Alera whispered one last thing. "When this ritual is complete, You will not just be human anymore. You will be more. Jacob stared at her, unable to speak. Suddenly, he felt something deep inside. A rush of energy, like lightning in his veins. Alara smiled softly. It is done. The glowing water faded. The silver light on his skin dimmed, but did not disappear. Jacob stepped out of the shower, feeling different, stronger, lighter. But before he could even speak, the front door exploded open. The hunters had arrived. Alara grabbed his hand and said, "Now we fight together, as one." The front door lay in pieces. Thick smoke and shadows filled the hallway. Strange figures stepped inside, tall and thin, their bodies covered in dark armor that shimmered like oil. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks with glowing red eyes. Jacob froze. His heart pounded, but his body felt different now. He could sense Alara's fear and her calmness, both flowing into him at once. He whispered, "Alara." "What are they?" She gripped his arm tightly. "Eh? Are the hunters?" she said quietly. "They were sent to stop me, to stop our bond. If we complete it, they lose their control over my people." The lead hunter stepped forward, its voice cold and sharp. "Surrender, Alara," it hissed. The bond must not be completed. But Alara didn't move. Instead, she closed her eyes, and suddenly, something incredible happened. A rush of images flooded into Jacob's mind, memories that were not his own. He saw a vast ocean planet, endless blue water stretching far beyond the horizon, glowing under twin suns. He saw Alara as a child, swimming through waves of light with others like her, their silver skin shining, their laughter ringing out. Then the memory shifted. The skies over her world darkened. The water turned gray and sick. Strange ships appeared, bringing the hunters. They poisoned the seas, enslaved her people, and demanded loyalty. Jacob could feel her sadness, her anger, her helplessness as if it was his own. He staggered back. "Kay can feel everything," he whispered. Alara opened her eyes and nodded. "Yes, this is part of the bond. You carry my memories, my pain, and my hope." The hunters stepped closer, their weapons raised. "Enough!" the lead hunter shouted. "You know the law, Alara. No bond with a human is allowed." Alara spoke firmly now, her voice full of strength. "Your laws mean nothing here. The bond has begun, and this human has chosen." Jacob looked at her, confused. Chosen? I didn't know I was choosing. But deep inside, he felt something changing. He didn't just feel her memories. He understood her fight, her loneliness, her courage. In that moment, he realized. This bond wasn't just about saving Alara. It was about saving her people. Alara whispered quickly. "Jacob, the bond gives you more than memories. It gives you strength, speed, and connection." Jacob clenched his fists. He felt power surging through his body, as if the water ritual had unlocked a hidden force inside him. The lead hunter raised a long, sharp weapon. Alara reached for Jacob's hand. "I can show you more," she said quickly. "If we merge deeper, you will see the truth, and you will know how to fight." Before Jacob could answer, she pressed her forehead to his dot. Another wave of visions flooded his mind. The secret powers of her people, control over water, speed, agility. The weakness of the hunters, how they feared the bond, because it freed Alara's kind from their control. When Alara pulled back, Jacob felt it. He was no longer just a man. He was something new. His skin shimmered faintly like hers, his senses sharper than ever before. The lead hunter aimed its weapon, but before it could fire, Jacob moved fast, faster than he ever imagined possible. In one smooth motion, he grabbed a broken chair and swung it at the hunter. Knocking the weapon from its hands, the other hunters stepped forward, but Jacob could sense their fear. Alara smiled. "Now you understand," she said softly. "The bond is our power. Together, we can fight them?" Jacob turned back to the hunters. His heart still raced, but he wasn't afraid anymore. He was ready, but this was only the beginning. The hunters would not give up easily, and now Jacob carried not only Alara's memories, but her fight. Jacob's mind raced. He could still feel Alara's memories inside him, her pain, her fear, and her hope. But now he also felt something else: strength. The hunters stood frozen for a moment, surprised by how fast Jacob moved. But then, one of them gave a sharp order: capture the human. Kill the girl if you must. Alara gripped Jacob's wrist tightly. "We must run," she whispered urgently. "The bond gives us power, but not enough to fight them all. Not yet." Without hesitation, Jacob nodded. He felt her thoughts mixing with his own. They no longer needed words to understand each other. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the back door. They raced through the kitchen, knocking over a chair as they went. Behind them, the hunters gave chase, their footsteps heavy and wind. And welitude serve, heavy and levitude. And welitudes have the luxurious texture that glides unsleeve and leaves a wretch long-lasting color. They raced through my losting/malis, my liced/made, nay sessive, maleli/malise to devzi/ellis, mamie/eller, with soleli/slies, delay slaz, by mileli pi with sabu we light a slally me met, kia I do a classic ha with me sla used to go as illicit guys a lip it sit discuss it to blood eye by to be sit to the guy sit to the classic custard and scud the kids the cricket basis fast. The sound of their strange weapons charging echoed through the apartment. Jacob kicked open the back door and burst out into the dark alley. The night air felt cool on his skin, but he didn't stop. Alara kept pace easily, her bare feet almost gliding over the pavement. "They're close," she said in his mind. "But I can guide us. I know where to go." Jacob didn't ask questions. He let her lead. They darted down narrow streets, weaving between buildings. The hunters followed, their red eyes glowing in the shadows. At every corner, Jacob felt Alara's thoughts telling him where to turn, left, right, then left again. He could feel her fear, Tia, but also her determination. "This way," she called out loud as they reached a narrow passage between two tall buildings. But as they entered the passage, Jacob skidded to a stop. At the far end, another hunter was waiting, its dark armor shining under a dim streetlight. It raised its weapon and aimed straight at them. Jacob's heart pounded. There was no time to think. Suddenly, Alara stepped in front of him and raised her glowing hand to Jacob's shock. Water began to rise from a nearby drain, swirling around. Her arm like a living ribbon, dot with a sharp motion. She flung the water at the hunter. The water struck its weapon, short-circuiting it instantly. The hunter staggered back, sparks flying from its gun. "Run!" Alara yelled. They dashed past the stunned hunter and turned into another street. Jacob couldn't believe what he had just seen. "You can control water?" he asked breathlessly. Alara nodded. "It is part of my people's gift, and now it will soon become your gift too, because of the bond." But before Jacob could say anything else, another shot rang out. A blast of energy struck the ground near his feet, sending sparks flying. The hunters were still right behind them. Alara looked around quickly. "There's an old tunnel nearby," she said. "If we reach it, we can hide. They won't find us." "There?" Jacob trusted her completely now. "Show me," he said. They ran again. turning down a quiet street where the lights were dim and the buildings abandoned. At the end of the street, Alara stopped in front of a metal grate. She knelt down and pressed her palm against it. The grate glowed softly, then slowly slid open. Quickly. She urged Jacob climb down first, followed by Alara. The tunnel below was dark, damp, and cold. The air smelled of old earth and rusted pipes, but it was quiet. For now, they were safe. Jacob leaned against the tunnel wall, breathing hard. His mind spun with everything that had happened. The bond, the hunters, Alara's strange powers. "I need answers," he said quietly. "What is this bond really, and why do they fear it so much?" Alara looked at him, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dark. "They fear the bond because it gives my people freedom," she said softly. "And now you're a part of that. Freedom." She placed her hand gently on his chest. "The bond is not finished yet," she whispered. "But when it is, you will be stronger than any of them." Jacob looked into her glowing blue eyes. Somewhere deep inside, he knew. This was far from over. The hunters would not stop, and neither would he. The bond deep in the tunnel was dark and cold, but Jacob felt warmth growing inside him. It was the bond stronger now, deeper than before. Alara sat beside him on the damp floor. Her silver skin glowed softly, lighting up the narrow space. She looked tired, but her eyes still shone bright blue. Jacob could feel her thoughts mixing. With his own, he didn't even need to speak. But finally, he whispered, "Alara, tell me everything. I need to understand before they find us again." Alara nodded slowly. "The bond is more than you think," she said softly. "It is not just a connection between two people. It is a joining of minds, bodies, and spirits." Jacob listened carefully, his heart still beating fast after the chase. "My people have done this for thousands of years," Alara continued. "But only with those we trust completely. Only with those who can help us survive." She reached out and touched Jacob's chest gently. "You are the first human ever to bond with one of us." Jacob swallowed hard. "Why me? Why now?" Alara closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "Because your kindness called to me," she said, "and because your world is safe." For now, her words made him shiver. "For now, too mean." Alara looked deep into his eyes. "The hunters who chase me, they are not just after me. They will come for Earth too, once they learn what we have done." Jacob felt a cold chill run down his spine. But before he could speak, Alara's fingers glowed brighter. She took his hand in both of hers and said, "There is one more step, Jacob, one last part of the ritual." He looked at her, confused. "Another step. I thought the bond was complete." Alara shook her head. "Not yet. The bond will only be full when our hearts, our life energies, are shared." Jacob didn't understand what that meant exactly, but he felt something stirring deep inside, a warmth, a light. Suddenly, Dara leaned closer and pressed her forehead against his. A rush of emotions filled him joy. Sorrow, hope, pain, all at once. He could feel her memories, her thoughts, her very soul becoming part of him, and he felt something else too. Strength, his body tingled, his senses sharpened. The darkness around them seemed clearer. He could hear water dripping far down the tunnel. He could even feel Alara's heartbeat as if it was his own. Alara pulled back slowly and smiled gently. "Now you are truly one of us," she whispered. Jacob looked at his hands. His skin glowed faintly now, just like hers. But there was no time to celebrate. Suddenly, they both heard it, footsteps above them. The hunters were searching the streets. Alara closed her eyes. "They are close," she said. "But something is different." Jacob listened carefully. He could sense it to fear. The hunters were afraid. He looked at Alara and said, "Why? What are they afraid of?" She smiled softly. They can feel the bond is complete. They know you are not just human anymore. Jacob clenched his fists. The power inside him felt real now, and it gave him courage. Alira placed a hand on his shoulder. The final bond means we share everything now. My abilities, my knowledge, my fight are yours too. Jacob took a deep breath. He could feel her inside him, like a second heartbeat. The hunters' voices echoed down the tunnel entrance. Alira whispered, "We can't hide anymore, but together we can fight." Jacob nodded. "Let's finish this." And for the first time, he felt truly ready. The bond was no longer just between them. It was their power, and he would use it to protect Alira, Earth. The final decision, the footsteps above them grew louder. The hunters were here. Jacob could feel their presence now, not just their noise, but their dark thoughts too. The bond had changed him. He could sense their anger and their fear. Alira stood beside him, calm but ready. Her glowing blue eyes locked onto his. "Jacob," she whispered inside his mind, "this is the moment. We can run no more. We must fight together." Jacob took a deep breath. He could feel her courage filling him, mixing with his own. The hunters dropped down into the tunnel, one by one. Their black armor gleamed in the dim light, their weapons raised. The leader stepped forward. "You are too late," the hunter growled. "Come with us, or we will destroy you both." Jacob didn't move. For the first time, he was not afraid. He raised his hand. Without even thinking, water from a nearby pipe burst free, swirling around his arm like a living snake. The bond had given him this power. It felt natural now. The lead hunter took a step back, surprised. What is this?" Alira smiled. Softly, "The bond is complete," she said aloud. "And now, Jacob is one of us." The hunters aimed their weapons, but Jacob moved faster than he ever imagined. With a sweep of his arm, the swirling water shot forward, striking to hunters. At once, their weapons sparked and failed. Alira stepped forward too, lifting her hands. Water from the tunnel floor rose up in waves, knocking another hunter to the ground. The leader hesitated for a moment, then charged straight at Jacob. But Jacob was ready. He ducked low, grabbed a piece of broken pipe, and swung it with perfect aim. The hunter's weapon flew from its hands. Then Jacob felt Alira's thoughts guiding him again. "Now, Jacob." Together. Jacob and Alira moved as one, every step, every action in perfect sync. The last two hunters fell, defeated. The tunnel fell silent. Jacob stood still, breathing hard, but he felt stronger than ever before. Alira placed a hand on his shoulder. "It is over. For now," she said softly. Jacob looked around at the fallen hunters. "Will more come?" Alira nodded sadly. "Yes, they will not stop. But you are ready now." "We are ready." Jacob thought of his quiet life before this night. Before the knock on his door, everything had changed. But he didn't feel regret. He looked into Alira's glowing blue eyes and said firmly, "I made my choice, Alira. I will protect you. I will protect your people." Alira smiled, her eyes soft but full of gratitude. "Then we will face whatever comes together." Jacob reached for her hand. Their fingers intertwined, his skin glowing faintly silver now. Just like hers, he felt the bond deep inside, stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. Alira whispered one last time, "You are not just human anymore. Jacob, you are bonded. You are one of us." Above them, the first light of morning broke through a crack in the tunnel ceiling. A new day had begun. New life had begun. And Jacob knew he would never be the same again.